I have gained so many valuable lessons from my experiences. In writing Things I Wish I Knew, Letters to My Little Sisters is a collection of heartfelt conversations with young girls and young adults all over the world, helping them to be prepared for things ahead. Welcome to Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to get started. We have a special guest with us tonight. His name is Mr. Aaron Jr., aka Mr. Know Your Worth. Mr. Know Your Worth is an American award-winning author, radio personality, speaker, relationship coach, and philanthropist. He is the founder, host of the Know Your Worth radio show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Mr. Aaron Jordan Jr.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me.
So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and more about your career and what you do?
Oh man, that's a great start. I always tell people that when I'm talking about myself, I love talking about the journey, the story. So I always tell people that I was the prodigal son. I was the one that always tried to run away from his calling, his purpose in life, and just the point from just being an inspiration to people. Because oftentimes, in the space of motivating, in the space of empowering people, that's a lonely road. It's true what they say, the motivator needs motivating as well. But when it gets to a point where you're chosen and you're called, you can't run from your purpose. So I'm a husband, I'm a father. Been married to my wife. It'll be 9 years going on next year. Feels like it's been a while, but that's the journey. And so I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my wife and her unwavering support. But I got started in this space of dating and relationships. It all started from my book, The Power Within a Woman's Worth from Both Sexes. It all started when just like everyone else, you have your own trials, your tribulations, your journey that you're battling within self. And so, I tell people I always love to use my story as an empowerment for others. My story is actually married. I was actually engaged 3 times, all within like an 18, 24 month period before I actually got married. And so while I say that, people look at that and say like, okay, man, what was wrong with you? But I was broken. I was hurt. I was one of those guys that needed the validation of love. And what I want people to understand is that, I was broken during that time. And it was that I was constantly projecting my pain on other people. So, your story shapes and molds you. And I'm pretty sure you're going to want to go in a little bit more detail on that. I didn't mean to put a whole earful out there like that, but...
Oh no, this is great. Like, I already have so many questions to ask you.
I'm pretty sure you do.
Definitely. So, okay, so we know that you have this story. You were you were engaged to be married. I'm sorry, did you say you were engaged to be married or you were married 3 times?
No, I was engaged to be married actually 3 times, all within an 18, 24 month period. And during that time frame, I was broken. I was hurt. I needed the validation of love. I was searching for something, but I tried to find it in other people. It wasn't until I actually had to just face my pain and face my hurt That's on this journey of finding love and looking for a partner or searching this space for the person that's specifically designed for us. We go through this journey of just trying to skate through the moment, and not really. And we're afraid to face our hurt, and I was one of those ones that did that. And it wasn't until I actually got to the point of facing it, dealing with it, and dealing with the outcomes of it, the depression, the almost suicide attempts, and things of that nature. It wasn't until like 3 years after that, until like my God's gift came back into my life. So
interesting. So would you say that what you had to go through, that's what kind of opened your eyes? Like, okay, I need to sit down and look at myself in the mirror.
So going through that, it made me have what I call a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
Traumatic experiences, we're not going to sit down and take a hard look at ourselves unless a traumatic experience happens. So my traumatic experience is when I was going through the depression, when I was going through the almost suicidal attempts and the suicide attempts too as well. It was one of those ones where like, okay, what's going on? And you hear that voice in your head like, okay, you're called, you're chosen. You have a job here on this earth to do, and you're not going to leave before you complete that work. And so it was one of those things that, like, back then I didn't know of any therapist or anybody to go and talk to, because in our culture, we're always taught that whatever happens in our house stays in our house, or we as men, we're not taught to bear our pain. We're not taught to bear our emotions. So it was like an inward explosion. So I'm sitting here going through all this stuff about, I have questions about myself. I have questions about things that happened to me when I was younger, or just questions, period. But instead of talking to anyone, I kept it inside. And what I did was I lashed out. And in me lashing out, I was very promiscuous. I lashed out using other people to get over my hurt, which brought about those 3 engagements too as well.
Wow. So reading in your bio, I see you've done all these books, featured on so many talk shows and different TV shows. What inspired you to share your story?
I mean, one of the things I've shared over the last 10 years, is telling people that your story is not meant for you. It's meant to help and empower others. So the thing is that I built my whole platform around the inspiration and inspirational stories of like myself, other people, to empower other people, and giving people a platform or space to not only share their hurt, not only get released from it, but to help and mend other people that are going through the same thing. So when I do an interview or on my podcast or on my TV show, I'm always looking for ways to help people transcend past their hurt. Because you and I both know that this dating world is not like it used to be. Mm-hmm. You got to go through leaps and bounds, and you got to go through all these other things because things are so accessible, and we're in this whole microwave society. So being able to share a story of how I came out of the mental breakdown and the mental capacity of needing the validation of love, or having someone on my show that talks about the power of forgiveness, and being able to free themselves for forgiving others, I think that's a powerful thing.
Wow. I was going to say, like, I'm curious, how did you get over that hump?
Well, it was like I said before, I didn't know of a therapist to talk to. Back then, I mean, it was just one of those things that, it was like 15, 20 years ago too. It was just one of those things where, mental health or just emotional depression and things like that, it wasn't talked about. So it's one of those things where I really had to go through the dirt of emotion, had to go through the dirt of my pain and actually face it. And I don't want to infringe on any one of your listeners or religion or anything like that. And I don't even talk about religion, but I'm a Christian. So when you think about that, and when you're chosen and when you're called to do things and to empower people, it's certain ways that you have to move. And so if you make movement that's outside of those parameters, then it's this voice that you hear. And so that the second suicide attempt that I had, it was one of those things I was actually in the restroom. And so I heard the voice tell me, say, hey, you have a purpose on your life. I have called you to do a work and empower people. I need you to be here to empower people. No matter if it's one person or if it's a million people. And just listening to that, it really gave me the fortitude and the fight to really face that inward hurt. You know, now I'm a huge component of people talking to a therapist, sitting down, talking with someone about mental health, because a lot of people don't have that strong capacity mental wise to actually face that hurt on their own.
Yeah. Wow, that is powerful. Ever since you've gotten over the hump and you've got your healing, you forgave, I would love to hear about some of your achievements and highlights ever since then.
Oh wow. So in 2012, that's when I first, in 2011, 2012, that was when I first, I guess what people say, came on the scene, or whatever you want to call it. I wrote my first book called The Power Within, a Woman's Worth from Both Sexes. And it's a play on words. A lot of people say, okay, well, you're in the mind, how do you know the minds of women and things like that? But it's not me knowing the minds of women, but it's me giving unbiased advice about dating, relationships. Because when I give advice, I'm unbiased to a point where it's no sides, because I want people to understand the value that they have and the worth that they have in relationships. And even before you get into these relationships, you have to understand your value, you have to understand your worth. So I wrote this book, and I instantly put together a tour, and nobody knew who I was, but I was a marketer. That's my background, is marketing. And so I put on a 7-city tour. I went to Atlanta, I went to Dallas, went to Chicago, I went to parts in Florida as well. Just traveling, talking about my book and things of that nature, setting up things for the bookstore. And so it caught buzz where I reside, which is here in Nashville, in Middle Tennessee. And so I did a lot of TV and press here in the area. And then all of a sudden someone came to me and said, hey, have you ever thought about having your own radio show? I said, no, I haven't, but I'll take a stab at it, So what happened is I started out on an AM station, and all people always say you have a radio voice, and so I don't know what that means, but from the point of having that radio show is really what opened up a lot of doors for me, because I put on my marketing hat. So I started out on an AM station here in Middle Tennessee. And then I had my engineer at the time to record my live shows, and I actually placed them in different markets like Dallas, 4 markets in Florida, and down in Atlanta. So over time, I built that listener base of my show outside of those, in those 7 markets, of 1.2 million listeners per week, because I was sending these shows to those markets. Then I got picked up by a bigger station on an FM station, and I had a 3-month contract. And after that contract, the owner of the station actually changed the platform. So I ran my radio brand successfully for about 4 years, and then I seen a shift happen. I seen a shift happen in the radio space where everyone was going to digital, and so that's where the whole podcast effect came into play. So So I started this podcast called Revamp the Podcast. And it's in that space, I noticed that people are using that platform like a traditional radio platform. So I wanted to have it where a person can go and get a quick hit, a quick nugget, riding in their car, working out, or whatever, about self-worth, about relationships, about dating. A quick hit of motivation of talking about red flags, talking about your pain, talking about the reason you're in this position mentally is because of XYZ. And so from that point, it took off, and then everything shifted over into TV. In 2019, I came up with my concept for my own TV show called Cafe Conversations. I pitched it. I got turned down a lot. Put together a pilot, got turned down, but one network picked me up and gave me a shot, and I've been on TV ever since, each and every Friday on TV for the last 2 years.
Wow.
That's in a nutshell. So I was trying to zone it down just a little bit because I know I'm a talker. So.
No, that's amazing. I really appreciate you're giving me, the audience, a very detailed picture of just exactly who you are and what you've been through and all that you've accomplished so far. So I really want to ask you, since being from A to Z in the place that you are in now, what would you say has been the biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome?
The biggest obstacle that I had to overcome over the last 10 years was the obstacle of self. And what I mean by that is that we can sabotage our own happiness. We can sabotage our own progression in life, and that's by self-doubt. So me overcoming self and being able to talk with self and motivate myself and not needing the motivation from others to make it seem like I'm achieving, or making it seem like, okay, well, Joe from next door saying like, okay, well, man, you're doing awesome. Mm-hmm. It's the thing is that me saying, okay, well, no matter who's watching, no matter who's listening, no matter who's watching me on TV, no matter who's coming to any one of my conferences or tour dates, book signings, whatever, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I'm touching somebody's life. And so when I grasped that was the pivotal change that happened. That was when I overcame that. That was when that shift happened.
So what does that look like? Does that look like pep talks with yourself, or really meditating on that statement? What does it look like?
So when I say overcoming self, that means you having a come to Jesus moment with yourself. Because let's just use this for an example. Let's say that you come up with a concept and you had an event, and the first thing you're thinking about when you put this event on is like, okay, man, I don't know if I hope 5 people come, I hope I sell out, or I hope I do this, and I hope this event achieves this. You're self-doubting the preparation that you put in to make that event successful. So my thing is that, okay, well, Aaron, you've been at this for many, many years. You got this. Or when I go to an interview, or I'm talking or doing a speaking tour, you got this. It's me pep talking myself, as you stated, and not waiting for others to say like, okay, well, yeah, you're the man, you're this, and you're that. It's me realizing in myself that I got this.
Yeah. Wow, that's really good. That is good. So I'm sure that you can't, separate you from your work, but I wanted to ask, what do you do when you're not working? What does your every day look like aside from work?
Every day with Aaron Jordan, outside of Mr. Know Your Worth, what does that look like? My wife will tell you, she'll be like, I'm always working, or I'm always thinking of doing something. But we try to travel. I like to, they say, if something's important to you, make time for it. So my family's important. My wife and legacy is important. So I always try to get that time in with my family. Me and my wife, we travel. She's always thinking of places to go. I'm just there. And I was like, baby, I love it. I appreciate you. Let's go. Things like that. But it's also just creating that time because, as you get to a certain point in life and things get busy and your schedules start to, conflict, you always want to prioritize your time with family because they're the ones there that's going to be there and support you forever.
Yes, sir. And I do want to bring it back because I feel like we have to really put more focus on that beginning stage because a lot of people need to get over that hump. So something that really stuck out to me was in the beginning of the interview, you told me how you had to really focus in and not really listen to the outsiders. So what is it like when everyone is against you, but you know that you have to stand? What kept you grounded? What kept you motivated to keep pushing forward and not listen to the naysayers?
The biggest thing was just looking at the situation that I was in, because the thing is, when I was in college, I played ball. I played basketball. That was my thing. Basketball. I had the hoop dream and all that stuff too as well. But the thing is, I always go back to this statement that Bishop T.D. Jakes made. He said, if you want to be average, just get up, go to work every day and just coast it through life. But if you want to be extraordinary, you have to step outside of the box. So my thing is that, okay, looking at my situation, looking at where I am, looking what I want to achieve and want to overcome, how can I do it? Because I wanted to give up every day. Every month, I'm coming to my wife talking about like, man, I don't know, this book didn't sell, I didn't close this deal or what have you. But it's thinking about the end result. I always been one of those ones that's a forward thinker, and so I always think about the end result. Everything takes a process. It's like you going to the grocery store and you're thinking about what you're going to cook for Thanksgiving or that whole home cooked Thanksgiving meal. So you go to the store, you're getting the ingredients, you're getting the sage, you're getting the cornbread or whatever you're cooking, the turkey, and all the ingredients to season it. Now you're prepared. Now you got to come home and now you got to cook it. You got to cook it and leave it in the stove and stuff like that. Put it in the oven and let it marinate and all that stuff. That's the same as with your life, with overcoming obstacles. It's a process. It's like, okay, I'm in the store. I had to go and get the ingredient of perseverance. I had to go and get the ingredient of overcoming self-doubt. I had to go and get the ingredient of overcoming my pain, because the thing is, all of that stuff that I went through has thickened my skin to the point where I can accept a no. I can accept people not wanting to buy my product. I can accept the fact of people not being receptive to my platform. That's okay. And the thing is that my platform is not for everybody. I tell people, if you're not serious about your love life and finding love and doing the work, the homework to better self, then my platform is not for you. Because once you do the work, you attract who you need to have in your life. So it's just being to the point of just focusing on that end result and looking at the fact of like, okay, my daughter be 16 years old this year. So it's looking at the fact that I have someone now outside of my wife or whatever that's looking at me as a role model. Okay? Mm-hmm. Looking at me as like, okay, well, I feel like giving up, but my daddy, he didn't give up. He kept fighting. So now let me keep fighting because my daddy kept fighting.
Yes. So you were engaged 3 times.
I knew it was coming.
I am curious because it is getting real out here, okay?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I want to know how long did God have you wait and get yourself together before you were ready to commit to marriage?
So what happened is that, like I said, I was engaged three times. And I call it 3 rings, 3 engagements. I bought 3 rings. I was engaged 3 times, all within an 18-month, 24-month time frame. And when people look at that, they're like, "Man, what was wrong with you?" But what I want people to understand is, like, look at where my mental psyche was. You know, look at where, because I was using other people to get over other people and to mask my hurt. So when I got to the point where I was coming out of that dark point, I worked on myself for almost 3 years. 3 years. And you know, at the beginning, in the middle of the interview, I stated that once you do the homework on yourself and seriously do the homework on yourself, the person that's specifically designed for you will show up in your life, right? Remember I said that?
Yep.
So my wife, we actually went to high school together. And we tried to date after high school. I messed up. Of course, I was young. I can admit that. But in between that time frame, 7 years went by before we even communicated again. I went through life. I went through my trials, my tribulations. I went through my dark moments. I went through those 3 engagements. I went through the hardship. I went through those suicidal moments. And I also went through those 3 years of homework on self. Does it make sense? So in me coming out of that 3 years, guess who responded to a Facebook message that I've been sending for 7 years after I came out of that mess of and doing the homework on myself? The person I was with when I was in high school.
Wow.
And see, I tell people is that, you know, her mentality was the same then as it is now. She's the same person. That's the thing about it, is that her maturity level, the woman she is, the woman she was, is the same. It's just matured into a more fuller woman. And so when you think about that, I tell people, when you are ready and you're serious about finding love and doing the work on yourself, because you got to do the work on yourself before you attract the person you're supposed to be with, that's when they'll come. And the thing is that the person that we're specifically supposed to be with has already crossed our path in one shape, form, or fashion. Either it was a premeditated thought, it was revealed to you in a vision, it was revealed to you in a dream, or it was somebody that you met physically. But the only reason it hadn't manifested yet is because you're still dealing with baggage, and you're still dealing with the old. You're still trying to move forward, looking in the rearview mirror, and that's what I was doing. And until I got through that point in that 3-year time frame, that's when everything came full circle and manifested.
Wow. Well, I'm just letting it sizzle here, taking it all in.
Let it sizzle in your spirit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you today. If it's a few things that you really want to stick with the audience, what would it be?
One of the things I want to say, and I live by this quote, I've been saying this quote for the last probably 10, 11 years. Understand and know that your worth is undeniable and your value is priceless. What that means is that what you have to know within yourself, without a shadow of a doubt, no matter what you go through, no matter your hurt, your pain, your past, or how you were raised, no matter your childhood, no matter how many broken or failed relationships that you've had, your worth is still undeniable and your value is priceless. Everyone has the God-given right to have the person that's specifically designed for them. But first you have to attack the mindset and know within yourself that you deserve it. When you know that you deserve it, you do the homework, it'll come.
Amen.
We're gonna pass that collection plate around, right?
Come on now. Yeah. Yeah. Where can we find you? Please give us your information.
Oh yeah, you can go to my website, AaronJordanJr.com. So a lot of information there about my social media information is there too. You can go directly to my Instagram, which is at Mr. Know Your Worth _ through in between all words. And then also just check out my podcast too as well. It's called Revamp the Podcast. It's on all major podcast platforms: Audible, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can think of is there for the motivation and all that stuff pertaining to relationships and dating. And then also, of course, you can reach out to my publicist. It's Nissa King for any bookings or whatever you want to do.
Yes, sir. Well, you all heard it here. Thank you so much, Mr. Aaron Jordan Jr., a.k.a. Mr. Know Your Worth. Thank you for joining us.
Name for that one,
Let the people know. Yes, I want to thank you on behalf of LaDonna Marie for speaking with us all tonight and giving us nuggets and wisdom. And we will apply this to our dating lives.
I appreciate you for having me.
No problem. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and see you next Monday, 6:30 Central, 7 Eastern Time.
Hey everybody, it's LaDonna Marie, internationally multi-award winning author, speaker, and personal development life coach of LaDonna Marie Books, where my mission is to discover the champion in you through healing and changing a narrative in your life, one book at a time. You can shop and find out more information at www.ladonnamarie.org and check out the shop page. This has been another purpose-packed episode of Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. Please remember to like, share, and tell your friends about the podcast. Stay tuned for many more Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie.